Hello, and welcome to another episode of Be a Leader podcast, where we analyze current events of sports, military, and business through the lens of leadership. And I have to tell you, the World Cup, the group stage that we covered, that was just one. And now we've gotten to the knockout stages, right? That's the real tournament. And that's what's been going on right now. Because in the group stage, you can still hide, you can still survive a draw, you can kind of limp through and make it through, right? It's mostly a practice. But the knockout rounds, that's where the truth comes out, all right? Do or die. One match decides everything. No second chances, no coming back tomorrow. And that's when I start to notice these knockout matches, something I talk about all the time, right? Pressure doesn't create who you are. Pressure reveals who you already are. Talk about this often. And this week we saw some shocking revelation. Talk about Germany, the 4-time champions, losing in penalty shoots for the first time ever. Team USA playing at home with nearly every advantage. They got destroyed 4-1. Man, Argentina nearly gets knocked out twice, and they should have, but they survived. And we saw how these champions recover. We saw when teams showed up when it mattered most. Character revealed itself in defeat. So we're going to go over 5 leadership lessons that we can improve to use ourselves with our life, our business, wherever we're trying to build. So let's get started with the first lesson. And that is your reputation does not execute for you. All right, it sounds obvious, but let's talk about something that hasn't happened in 44 years. I kind of mentioned Germany already. We're going to talk about them. They've won the World Cup 4 times. And they've won in every single penalty shootout they've ever been. All right, since 1982 when they've been doing it. They've faced 4 times, they won all 4 times. They were reliable, more reliable than you could say in a German car that they've ever built, right? It was part of their identity. It was part of who they are. They win in penalties. But then they faced Paraguay in the round of 32. Okay. Paraguay is the 34th ranked country in the world. They opened this tournament getting destroyed by a Team USA 4-1. That was a great win for Team USA. They were like the underdog's underdog. But then on Boston that Monday night, something happened. After 120 minutes of regulation, they went to extra time and then penalties. And Paraguay's goalkeeper, Orlando Gil, stopped the German attempts twice. And Germany, Jonathan Tau's skied a shot up in the air. So it was like 3 misses right there. And Paraguay's Jose Canal scored the winner. Germany went home on penalty kicks. For the first time in 44 years, they've lost in a penalty shootout. Kai Havertz, one of their best players, said afterwards, it's just hard to find the words. I thought we were good. I thought if we got to the penalties, we were good. But it's not easy. And here's the thing. Germany's reputation didn't step in the field and take those penalty kicks. Okay? Kai Havertz did. And his shot was saved. So here's the lesson. Right? Your record doesn't show up for you on the game day. You do. You have to show up. You have to execute. All right, let's talk about another example on the same thing. Team USA came in this tournament with everything. They were the co-host. They had automatic qualification. They had pretty soft groups. They had these crowds behind them. They had the most talented roster that they've had probably in a generation. And they had a great coach in Mauricio Pochettino, one of the most accomplished coaches in history. They had investment. They had infrastructure. But again, against Belgium in the round of 16, if you watch that game, it was extremely painful. They lost 4-1. It's like they didn't even show up. Now, Belgium is ranked 5th in Europe. But USA had reputation. They had the investment. They had a home field. They had everything you could possibly imagine going behind them. But what they didn't have was execution. They looked terrible that game. Belgium, Charles de Calater scored twice. Romelu Lukaku scored in stoppage time. The USA goalkeeper, Matt Freese, misplayed the ball and left the Belgium forward with an open net. It was so bad. The Team USA's reputation in this tournament and co-host didn't matter. And then let's go on to one more example. We'll go to Brazil, 5-time World Cup champions. They're the most decorated soccer nation in history. And then they faced Norway, a team who had never made it into the knockout stages ever. Play against Norway in the round of 16. But Norway had one guy called Erling Haaland, the 6'5" monster. They call him the Terminator. He probably should be playing linebacker in the NFL, not in soccer, but he turns out to be the most lethal striker in soccer. He talked about just give me half a chance and I'll score. And he came to the World Cup ready. Okay, Brazil dominated the match. They had more possessions, they had better statistics, they had better players. The challenges with these nations like Halad is he plays in great teams in other countries, but the host, when he's playing for his own team, he just not around that same talent. So those expectations was for Brazil as a better overall team to win. But then Halad scored twice. In the 79th minute, he headed one in. And in the 90th minute, he lasered another one right past their defense. And Norway won 2-1. Brazil's reputation did not execute, but Haaland executed. And this is what it teaches us. The reputation is an introduction. It gets you invited to the table, but you still have to execute. In the Marine Corps, we talk about this a lot. Your rank doesn't lead the platoon. Your presence does. Your decisions do. Your character does. Your rank is just the door. In business, it's the same thing. Your company's brand gets people interested. Your product gets them to try it out. But if you don't execute, you don't deliver value, if you can't follow through, the reputation is not going to save you. Okay? The next level will always tell you the truth. And Germany found out that their penalty shootout reputation meant nothing against a team that could convert. Right? Team USA found out that their home field advantage meant nothing against a team that executed better. Okay? Brazil found out that being a 5-time champion meant nothing against a team with player who showed up hungry. He's fun to watch, Haaland. Pressure doesn't care about your resume. Pressure only cares about what you do in that moment. And that's the reason why I coach confidence under pressure, because it is so important for some people to be able to perform under pressure. So that leads us on to the next lesson, lesson number 2, and that's momentum is an opportunity. It's not an accomplishment. That's not the end that you want, right? So let's talk a little bit more about momentum. Momentum feels great. Momentum feels sometimes like you've already won, but it's not the same as execution. We're going back to execution again. Let me give you a dramatic example. Okay, Egypt versus Argentina, round of 16. Man, this game. Argentina is the defending World Cup champions. They're ranked second. Lionel Messi is the greatest player supposedly of all time, and he's playing his final World Cup supposedly. And Egypt, they barely made it through the group stage. They had to win on penalties just to get past Australia. And that was a good one, by the way, if you saw that one. So Argentina and Egypt should have been kind of a coronation for Messi to just trump over this African nation. But something happened. Egypt went up 1-0. Then they went up 2-0. Then they went up 3-0. But then that one was brought back. We'll talk about that later. So they're still 2-0 because of review. And that was with 79 minutes of the game. 79 minutes of the game. They controlled the game. And everyone thought that they were going to pull off a stunner against Argentina. And then what happened? Argentina scored 3 goals in 13 minutes. Christian Romero in the 79th minute. Lionel Messi in the 83rd minute, giving him life with the tied game. And then Enzo Fernandez in the 90th minute stoppage time, and Argentina won 3-2. Egypt's momentum evaporated, just like that. And Messi said afterwards, it was very difficult, especially when they were 2 goals down. But to come back, this is what the World Cup is for. So Egypt's problem wasn't just that they lost momentum. It's that they never converted that momentum at the end, right? Momentum at the end. They ran out of execution. It wasn't there at the end. That was a tough game to watch if you were an Egypt fan. And let's go to the one that hurt me the most. Yes, my family is from Mexico. And you got to believe the Mexico games have been cheering those hard, right? Team USA, Team Mexico. But there was Mexico against England at the Azteca Stadium. Azteca Stadium is a big name. It is one of the most well-known stadiums in the whole world. Okay, 80,000 plus screaming fans. The altitude's over 7,000 feet. It is Mexico's fortress. Mexico had won opening 4 games there without conceding a single goal in Mexico. And then England comes and they nearly crash against Congo. They were coming to Mexico City at the worst time. They had 48 hours before kickoff, which is not that much time to acclimate to that high altitude. And then they were kept up all night from the Mexicans fans outside the hotel, probably serrating them to keep them awake, right? All the momentum is in Mexico. You could argue that playing at the Azteca against Team Mexico is the toughest environment you could possibly have, probably in the whole world. I'll just put it that way. Again, the crowd, the altitude, the home field, the fact that Mexico hadn't lost in that stadium in years. And then England scored twice quickly. Oh my gosh, Jude Bellingham, their 23-year-old star, scored twice. Boom, boom. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, where did this come from? And it goes back to, we'll talk about defense here in a little bit and what soccer can learn from basketball, because they need a basketball coach over there. Holy cow. But the momentum shifted. And then Mexico had chances. Okay, let's just not say they were not dead. The crowd was behind them. They found some momentum building. They kept going at it, but they just couldn't finish. And that was the hardest part. England, they got a red card. They were down a whole person. England was down to one person. Mexico had one more player on the field, and Mexico still couldn't find a way. England won 3-2. Mexico had all the momentum in the world. You could not have asked for more, but England had execution. They had great defense. They defended, I think, for like 30 minutes. They just played defense. They just threw all these defenders in there just to play defense, and they played great defense. And it was so painful to watch from Mexico. And again, momentum, it's not the accomplishment. It's not the goal, right? It tells you that you're in the right direction. It gives you a little bit more energy. It tells you the conditions favor you. It tells you that people believe in you. But it doesn't score goals. Okay? It doesn't close deals. It doesn't build companies. Execution does. Okay? That's why in my framework, my core framework, CORE, to help build confidence under pressure, the E is for execution. It is the fourth out of those. There's stuff you got to do ahead of time, but it's so critical. If you can't deliver on momentum, it starts to evaporate. Right? I think about startups. They can go from Series A funding rounds. They have press releases. They have interviews. Everyone's excited, but then they miss their targets. Then they don't build the products fast enough. Then they don't acquire customers efficiently. And the momentum, it was an opportunity, but the lack of execution was their miss. Argentina had Messi. Argentina had pedigree. Argentina had everything. But if they don't score those 3 goals in 13 minutes, they go home. Mexico had Azteca. Mexico had the crowd. They had the momentum. But if they don't finish their chances, they lose. And this phrase that kept going in my mind during the week was this: pressure doesn't reward who has the momentum. It rewards who finishes. And it's not all about the momentum. That's the lesson. It is an opportunity. Momentum is an opportunity, but finishing is the responsibility. All right. Let's go on to the next lesson. That is, champions recover faster. I talk about confidence under pressure constantly. It's my brand. It's what I do. Because the definition of confidence isn't that I always win. Okay. You can't guarantee that. But it's more like I recover faster than everyone else, and I know I can do this. So let's talk about what I mean. Going back to Argentina again. Before that last game, right? They barely lost to Cape Verde. Cape Verde has a population of just over 500,000 people. It's the smallest nation population ever to be in a World Cup knockout round. And Argentina went up 1-0. Then Cape Verde tied it up. Then Argentina went up again. Then Cape Verde equalized them again. Then they went to extra time. And Argentina was on the cusp of one of the greatest upsets in history. Then Messi curled one in the corner. Cristiano Romero headed one off the Cape Verde player's arms in the goal, and Argentina advances 3-2. And Messi said afterwards, this team competes, and we competed till the end. But then 4 days later, they nearly lost again. You would have thought they would have learned their lesson and put effort early. Egypt, again, Argentina was down 2-0 with 79 minutes to go. 2-0. The defending champions, ranked second in the world, about to go home. Then they scored 3 in 13 minutes and won 3-2. So in 1 week, Argentina nearly lost twice and came back to advance. And again, that's not luck, it's not chance. It's a champion who knows that they can recover quickly and they have the belief that they can win. We'll go back to England and Mexico again. And England was up 2-0. Then they got a red card. Then they were down, right? And Mexico started to come back. They made it 2-1. And the momentum shifted drastically. Then England gave away a penalty. Mexico scored to make it 2-2. It's tied. So England went up from being up 2 goals, then down a man, then tied, and momentum was completely against them. But England didn't panic. They didn't fold. They didn't flop, even though they were known for flopping. They were someone saying, not tonight. They got organized. They defended smartly, and they won 3-2. And with Belgium and Team USA equalized it to make it 1-1. And for a moment, we all thought Team USA could compete and make this happen. But then 2 minutes later, Belgium scored again. And then again. And then they scored again. And Team USA lost 4-1. Belgium did not panic when Team USA equalized. There was 120 seconds from the moment the score came to another one. In the Marine Corps, we talk about how important it is to be calm when the pressure increases. That way you can make clear, good, smooth decisions. Because panic often creates mistakes. Okay? You cannot let panic control you. Calm creates clarity. Calm creates decisions. And quick decisions lead to fast recovery. And that's what Argentina did it twice. That's what England did against Mexico. That's what Belgium did against Team USA. They had a setback, but they recovered in minutes, not hours, not days, right? In minutes. Look, everyone has bad moments. Everyone gets scored on. Everyone has things go wrong. Okay, that's not the point. The difference between the champions and everyone else is recovery time. How quickly can you reset? How quickly can you refocus? How quickly can you execute the next play? That's why I like basketball, because you're going back and forth. You got to be able to quick. And that's confidence under pressure. How quickly can you make that change? Argentina was down 2-0. The game was almost over, 79 minutes. And then 13 minutes later, they were winning because they scored 3 goals in 13 minutes. That's a level of champions, level of confidence. Okay. And in your business, in your team, there might be setbacks. How do you spend time processing it? How do you recover quickly instead of lagging? And that recovery is the difference between you at this level and at the next level. So let's go on to the 4th lesson. Systems create behaviors. All right. So let's talk about something a little bit different, and that's going to be systems. I like talking about systems. In this tournament, we've noticed the way the game is played is structured. The rules, tech, everything creates specific behaviors. And again, I am a college basketball coach background when I'm talking about sports here. But it's still crucial for leadership. More than just soccer. Let's talk about the offside rule. If you don't know, there's this like line with the defenders. In soccer, you can't be offsides in certain positions, right? So the defenders can hold this line. Instead of tracking all the runners, they can just hold this line. As long as they don't pass it, they're okay. And in my mind, this creates lazy defense. Okay? It doesn't rely on effort. It's all about just where you are on this line. And in my mind, if you got rid of this rule, then you'd have to track everyone, just like in basketball. You have help side defense. You have to see everyone behind. You can't just hold this line and be like, oh, no one can pass me. No one can go to the paint because I'm up here. It would completely change offense. It would completely change defense. Communication would have to be better. They would have to work harder. The incentives would be a lot better. But the rules for defense lets this laziness play. And it drives me a little nuts. Anyways, soccer, regardless, soccer teams could find a lot of value of just having a basketball coach on their staff, because there was so many goals that we've seen. That is just because they lose their people. But let's move on. Let's talk about something more controversial, and that's VAR, Video Assisted Review. This came up over and over again. In almost every game, you're going to see some type of Video Assisted Review. So here's the idea. Sometimes a play happens, but VAR reviews it, and they call it back. Why? Well, it could be a sensor, literally called the SNICO, detected that the ball grazed a hairline of Croatian player. We're talking about the Croatian game. Oh my gosh, his hairline, all right? It wasn't his foot. It wasn't his head. It was his hair. One journalist called it the hair of God. The goal was disallowed. Croatia goes home. Portugal advances. Oh my gosh, it was painful. And then the Egypt-Argentina. We're going to come back to this game. It was a spectacular game, memorable. But Egypt scores on a goal. It's good. But then VAR reviews it, and they call it back because someone fouled Argentina 100 yards away 15 seconds earlier. It had nothing to do with the goal. The score didn't come in it, but VAR decided that it was a foul happened somewhere at some point over there, and the goal doesn't count. So rather than Egypt going 3-0, they're still 2-0 up. And to make the matters worse, the exact same play happened the other way with Argentina now scoring. But unlike the last time, they didn't take Argentina's goal away. Make that make sense. So you can see how these rules create like different standards and different outcomes. And that's what kills trust in the system. And then there's the Balogun situation with Team USA. Balogun, the Team USA star striker, got a red card in an earlier match, and he was supposed to be suspended against the Belgium. But then President Trump called the FIFA boss, Gianni Infantino, and asked him, just take a look. He said, I didn't tell him to change the call. He said, just take a look. And then the suspension gets overturned. And suddenly, Belgium is furious. And the UEFA said they had crossed a red line. They said this is unprecedented. incomprehensible, unjustifiable, whatever words they come up with. And as a basketball coach, I kind of laugh. I think this is humorous just because, hey, these are the rules. These are the rules you come up with, man. What did you expect? So whether it was or wasn't, like, the perception was there that something was not fair. And that's what destroys the trust, right? Here's what you have to understand. Every system that you create produces exactly the behaviors that rewards it, okay? If your system's rewarding hitting quarterly numbers, people will hit quarterly numbers, even if it means sacrificing long-term value. If your system requires approval from 5 different people, people will learn to navigate that system instead of solving real problems. If your system measures individual performance, then people are going to optimize themselves for that instead of the team. And if you want your system to be inconsistent, same fouls called differently in different moments, if that happens, then people start to lose trust in the system. And that's exactly what's happening with the VAR. Okay, people don't necessarily mind strict rules; they just hate inconsistent rules, right? And it feels unfair. So within your organization, you got to ask yourself, what behaviors are my systems actually creating? Okay, not what do I intend them to create? What are they actually creating? Have some kind of audit for that. Do people communicate more, or they protect themselves? Do people take risks, or they play it safe? Okay. Do people solve problems, or are they just trying to navigate politics? Do people trust leadership, or do they just question every single decision? Your system has answers to all those questions. And if your system is inconsistent, if you're applying one standard here and another one there, you're going to create distrust. That's the result. That's exactly with Egypt falling apart. That was the problem with Belgium felt. System created these behaviors. Inconsistent systems create confusion and hesitation. And confusion and hesitation are the opposite of confidence under pressure. And let's go on to the 5th one, the final one, and that is losing can still reveal greatness. What are you talking about? Isn't it we all want to win? Oh, man. So, look, losing doesn't have to be counted as a failure. Okay, those are the stories we tell ourselves. Cape Verde lost to Argentina 3-2 in extra time. They played their hearts out. They nearly pulled off one of the greatest upsets ever. Okay, but they still lost. But you know what happened after that loss? The entire world gained respect for Cape Verde, and they know they exist now, right? Their goalkeeper, Balogun, a 40-year-old player who played in the lower leagues, didn't get professional to 25. He played in Angola and Moldova and Cyprus. He made save after save after save, even against Messi. He's one of the greatest players ever. And the player said, we wanted to display the resilience of our people. We heard that quote earlier, and they did. Okay, they didn't win that game, but they revealed their standard. They revealed that they belonged. And you could say the same thing with Argentina, right? They lost 3-2 after that crazy 13-minute comeback, but they had the lead. They nearly won that game. Yes, they did lose the game, but they nearly had it. Egypt proved that they belonged. Absolutely. They proved that they can compete at that level. They proved that they can play against the defending champions. They proved that they had heart, that they had resilience. Yes, they didn't win the game, but they won, you could argue, something more important, and that is respect. Paraguay shocked the Germans on penalties. Then they faced France in the quarter later on, and they lost. But people aren't talking about Paraguay's loss to France. You know what they're still talking about? They're talking about Paraguay's victory over Germany. Their coach, Gustavo Alfaro, said it in the tournament. We didn't even think we'd make it to the World Cup, but we showed that the essence of our team is to compete and fight for every ball. Yes, they lost to France, but their identity was revealed. And I keep noticing this. It's just, again, it's different with soccer because there's not a lot of scoring compared to basketball. But especially in soccer, the scoreboard doesn't measure everything. Okay, you can win 1-0 and reveal nothing about your character. You can lose 3-2 and it can reveal everything. Cape Verde didn't go far in the knockout rounds, but they advanced in the world, the eyes of the world, because they had effort, heart, standards, the things that matter to them. They had that. We saw that. This connects back to my IBR framework, identity, behavior, results. Cape Verde's identity was resilience. The behavior was total effort. The result in that game was a loss, but they had other wins, right? Their identity and behaviors were flawless. Okay? So even though the results didn't show a win, the other twos did win, did show up. And in leadership, that matters because those are things you can't control. You cannot control the results. Sometimes the market shifts. Sometimes timing is wrong. Sometimes everything is right and you lose. But you always can control your identity. You can always control your behaviors. And if those things are right, you've still achieved something. You still revealed your standard, and the rest will come. That's the lesson from Cape Verde, from Egypt, from Paraguay. Losing can still be a victory if your standards remain intact. Because pressure just doesn't reveal who wins. Pressure reveals who you really are. And sometimes who you really are is worthy of respect, even in defeat. Anyways, so those are the 5 lessons. And I do have my college whiteboard here, so let's just go over them quickly. First one, your reputation does not execute for you. At the end of the day, you still have to show up and you still have to execute. The second one, momentum is an opportunity, not an accomplishment. Momentum feels good. It's a good signal. But again, you still have to execute. The third one, champions recover faster than everyone else. Okay, everyone's going to have setbacks. Everyone's going to have challenges. You have to be able to recover quickly and believe that you can do it and then go do it. The fourth one, systems create behavior. Okay, all behavior fits within the box of the structure. And yeah, I have some challenges as a college basketball coach when it comes to soccer, what the structures are, what the rules are, offsides, the video VAR, those type of things, the inconsistencies. But part of it is the way it's set up. Maybe FIFA should review themselves, have their own VAR themselves, and figure out how they can make better behaviors by changing the structure. And the fifth one, losing can still reveal greatness. Yes, we learn so much from losing, but you can still have an excellent fight. You might not get the medal, all right? But you've still been able to reveal who you are. Alignment with identity and behavior is so important. It will take care of themselves. Okay, the world now knows who Cape Verde is. It is phenomenal. We can learn from these things. So again, these 5 principles aren't just about soccer. They're about how you lead. They're about what happens when the stakes get real, when you can't hide anymore, when there is no second chances like in the knockout rounds, when the pressure is the highest. That's when your real identity reveals itself. That's when the systems either support you or fail you. That's when recovery time matters. That's when execution matters more than momentum. And that's when reputation doesn't mean anything, okay? Just the action that you take. So anyways, the groups stage was just a preview, but the knockout rounds, this is the real tournament, right? And if you're building a team, if you're building a company, if you're building a life, you want to know how to perform in these knockout rounds, right? When there's no room for error, okay? When the next level is watching, right? When one mistake means you're done, that's where confidence under pressure gets forged. That's where you find out who you really are. Okay. Anyways, thank you for watching. I appreciate you watching. Please share this with someone that you think would benefit. Please make a comment on what your biggest takeaway has been so far in the knockout rounds. Please think who you think is going to win now that we've got fewer teams left. Okay. Please like it and share it. Put a 5-star for those that are listening. And remember, whether you're leading yourself, leading others, or leading leaders, be a leader. My name is Daniel Pinedo. Thank you. And until next time.